So we will be recording this meeting. For those who cannot make it, everybody that's on the meeting, on the invite, will get a copy of the recording. Next slide, Zach. I want to introduce myself. My name is Herbert House. I am your Senior Scholarship Manager, and introduce you to my colleague, Mr. Zachary Jesse, our Scholarship Support Specialist. Well, today is not about us. Today we want to just get out the way, give you guys some great information about 2 scholarships. But before we do that, we want you guys to save the date for Friday, November 19th. We will have our first CPS scholarship informational session of the year. Again, Friday, November 19th at 4 o'clock via Zoom. All right. Without further ado, I would like to turn it over to QuestBridge. And remember, the motto for this year is to get your money right.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily, checking that you all can hear me. Awesome, getting some nods. So I'm going to share my screen now that has the presentation. So please bear with me for the next few seconds of silence since I cannot multitask. Awesome. So can everyone see the presentation as well?
Yes.
Fantastic. So as I mentioned, my name is Emily. I'll be giving a brief introduction about QuestBridge, smaller introduction about the Alumni Association, and also all of the people who are currently on the call from the Alumni Association who will be presenting. So first off, we'll be chatting for the next maybe like 20-ish minutes explaining to you the QuestBridge Scholarship. And every person who will be presenting was someone who was in your shoes. I will not say how long ago, but quite a few years ago. And QuestBridge was a scholarship that, at least I can see for myself, definitely transformed my life, but all of us who will be presenting are QuestBridge scholars. And that's something that we carried with us throughout college and then also even beyond. So you'll see in our Zoom titles, it says QuestBridge alumni. We're all also heavily involved with the Alumni Association that's in Chicago for people who graduated college as well. So this is something that you can carry with you throughout your time. So just a brief introduction to myself. My name is Emily. I graduated from Dartmouth College in 2016. So Dartmouth is one of the QuestBridge schools. And I applied to QuestBridge back when I was in high school. And then you'll learn more about this later, but I did not get the scholarship itself, but was a finalist. And now I'll let the other people on my board introduce themselves as well, who will be presenting. We can start with Daniel, and then you can popcorn it over to the other presenters.
Sounds good. Thanks, Emily. Hi, everybody. I'm Daniel Flores. I attended Northwestern University. I graduated in 2014, and I did my master's there at 2015. And I can pass it on to Man.
Hey, guys. My name is Man. Also went to Northwestern, graduated in 2018. Kimika?
Hey folks, I'm Kamika. I studied environmental studies and public policy, went to the University of Chicago, and graduated in 2020.
Awesome, thank you everyone. So we're all also based in Chicago since we're part of the Chicago Alumni Association for QuestBridge. So I'll just dive right into our presentation and give you the guidelines of what we'll be discussing. So we'll be introducing to you what QuestBridge is. I'm sure you're wondering like, all right, we met all these people, but what is the scholarship? So we'll be going into an introduction about that in our first couple of slides. Then we'll talk about who the partner colleges are. So you've heard from 4 of us and kind of the schools that we went to. As you can tell, they're not just Chicago based, they're all over the US. Then we'll discuss eligibility. By virtue of receiving the email invitation to this presentation, you all should be eligible for the QuestBridge Scholarship. So this will go more into detail about how you qualified. And then we'll also talk about our individual QuestBridge stories, to show you that it is a real scholarship, and then finally go through the timelines of when you should be applying and hearing back. So now I'll pass it off to Man to talk about QuestBridge.
Sweet, thanks, Emily. So hello again. Yeah, I graduated from high school in 2014, so it's been a little while, but I still remember sort of being in your shoes, right? Thinking about what I'm going to do in the future. Do I even want to go to college? If I want to go to college, how am I going to get there? Well, today, hopefully this presentation will answer a lot of those questions, or at least some of those questions for you. Because QuestBridge is a organization that I really attribute a lot of my success today to what Emily said earlier. Okay, so what the heck is QuestBridge, right? So QuestBridge, based in Palo Alto, California, is a organization, a nonprofit that helps bright, motivated students from low-income backgrounds navigate college admissions, access the nation's top colleges, and have additional opportunities after college graduation. So pretty much the organization helps you guys gain access to some of the country's best colleges, and through this program, you can get matched with a full ride. And even after you graduate, they're there to try to help support you through your early careers. And some of the key stats that you can see on the screen are, for example, 70,000 students are actually served by the different programs Quest has to offer, and 15,000 QuestBridge scholars and alum are here today nationally. Next slide, please. And here's a bunch of logos showing just basically an overview on these colleges. They're really committed to meeting 100% of your financial needs. And we can talk a little bit more about what this means later, but you can think of your basic costs such as tuition and rent as sort of covered. And all these different logos is really just to show you that there are a lot of colleges out there who really care about students similar to us that's from a low income background, right? And to be honest with you, when I was still applying to colleges, I've never even heard of 90% of these schools. And in fact, I went to Northwestern and I learned about the school through QuestBridge. And remembering back, I've always just wanted to, do 2 years of community college and then another 2 years as sort of like an affordable school. And yeah, I'm really glad that, this program's out there to really connect me with and show me, hey, like there are more schools that you should be considering out there. Next slide, please. This is sort of another overview slide of the 4 basic programs that Quest has to offer. And starting from the bottom over here, we see the College Prep Scholars Program. And that's really, I think, targeted more towards juniors, the younger students who are, on their journey to getting ready for college. So they help, give special awards to students who might want to go visit a college, so they pay for their airplane ticket and hotel there, or if they want to do some sort of summer courses, they might have awards to help them out. The next step, which is where actually I started to participate in, is the National College Match Program. And it's been a while since I was in it, so the rest of the alums, please jump in if I got this wrong. But based on my memory, after you apply to it, QuestBridge pretty much selects who the finalists are. And once you become a finalist, then you sort of submit your list of partner colleges you would like to go to. And if there's mutual interest, then you get matched. But that's actually not the only way for you to become a QuestBridge scholar. And Emily sort of told this story already, but I actually wasn't matched through this program either. Pretty much, I was also rejected. But what happened was that after I got rejected, Northwestern and University of Chicago sort of reached out to me individually and basically said, hey, we reviewed your application. Sorry we couldn't offer you through QuestBridge, but we highly encourage you to apply. And if you get in through the normal process, we're very confident that you'll basically get a full ride based on their generous financial aid. So that's exactly what I did. And I pretty much got the same package as everyone else. I got all my tuition covered for 4 years, and I got my rent covered for 4 years. So pretty much as good as the match program. And not to derail us, we should going on to the next one, the QuestBridge Scholars Network. You can think of that as what happens once you either become a finalist and you attend a partner college, or if you're matched. And once you're in college, there are going to be a bunch of social events or even career-related events. I remember, 1 year at NU, Google came over and basically just told us all about their internship programs and tried to set us up to interviews and get jobs at different companies. And that's also something really cool about the Scholars Network, even after you go through the match process. And then the last part, the Alum Association, which is where all of us speakers are part of today, that's really just to continue with the community that you build throughout college, where we sort of have more social events, or we could do volunteering events. Basically, once you're part of the family, we just try to help each other out. And I'll pass it to who's up next.
All right, thanks so much, man. I know everyone's super excited. How do I get the scholarship? I want to go to college for free. So now how do we get there? So before I start, I know there's a lot of things here that you see that might seem a little bit daunting, overwhelming, maybe question yourself like, oh, there's probably people that are more qualified. If you remember anything from what I'm going to tell you is that you are very much qualified. You're probably way more qualified than most of the kids that are applying to these colleges to begin with. I think all of our peers here, we can tell like are more affluent, more privileged peers that went to college, didn't have the same path we did, but they still went in and they still thought they were the best or they were the greatest candidate ever. So I think for a lot of us, life has kind of humbled us and has always taught us, keep your head down, work hard. But I think during the college process, definitely think to yourself, like, this is my time to shine. I have so much value to bring. And colleges are literally looking for like low income, first gen students of color to bring value to their school. There's a lot of things you bring. So that said, here are the eligibilities. So again, this is holistic, meaning they look across the board. Like you don't need to check every single box. You don't need to be exactly one or the other. You just need to be within that area. So they really want academic, excellence. They really want to see people that have pushed themselves, that have done it well academically. But that said, that doesn't mean you need to have a 4.0 GPA. I know plenty of scholars that did not have a 4.0 GPA, were not valedictorian. I definitely wasn't valedictorian. And there's just so many different ways that you can kind of define academics. And this, again, like, don't think that just because this, your first year in high school, you didn't do well. Like QuestBridge is truly holistic, meaning when you do your application, you're going to be filling in every single year across your 4 years in high school, saying, what the situation was every year. And that gives you space to say, oh, maybe something was going on, or maybe, something happened, or maybe there was a pandemic during your junior year. So you have space to say and kind of give context to what's going on. Next kind of bullet, the most challenging courses. Again, QuestBridge is holistic. We understand there's a lot of inequity in the different school systems and where people are coming to school and what's offered. So if you only had, calculus AB, that's the highest class you took. If you took that, great. If you didn't have that in your school, that's okay. But as long as you have the space to say, I took as much as I could, or XYZ, this is the reasons why I couldn't take these classes, or it didn't fit with my schedule, or, I worked another job during school, like you still have that. So don't feel discouraged if you don't necessarily feel like, you're not at a school that every single course on your transcript says AP. Next point, they generally do like seeing the 5 to top 10% of your graduating class. Again, that's really relative. You might be going to a small school where your graduating class is 100 people, like, for example, when I went to school, my high school was, about 3,500, 4,000 students. So getting the top 10 was really not that hard for me. But that said, they are very holistic. And, if you give context in your application, there's so much space, they'll know like, okay, I now understand what's going on. And I think the next point, like they want to see if you do well, like 78th percentile of like the SAT, relatively high on the ACT. That said, like, if you don't necessarily meet this right away, I would highly encourage you to apply anyway. Again, a test score doesn't necessarily show your intelligence level or how hard you've worked. all these, they've done so many studies about this that shows like the SAT really just proves like how wealthy of a family you came from. QuestBridge fully understands that this application does that. So it does not matter. A score doesn't define you. It's really what you want to put forward and your potential more than anything. I think the last point is something that everything else is kind of set in stone at this point, but demonstrating strong writing skills and intellectual curiosity, this is honestly where you go off. In the essays, put everything that you can possibly, that you feel like has, shaped you as an individual, as a young person, as a soon to be, like college adult. This is where you can really kind of, put in as much effort, put in time, make sure you get teachers, peers to edit and really get as much, make yourself shine on paper and make sure it's like your own unique narrative into why you are deserving and why you should be going to these schools. All right, let's go to the next slide. So now that's just kind of like the general eligibility. Now the more low income, it's kind of tricky again, because that's such a subjective thing. Low income, I think, where I went to high school, I went to a Title I high school again, but there was still a very big spectrum, of what that means. I think they generally give a like kind of the subjective number of $65,000. I mean, that means a lot of places. Like if your family makes 65K and you're living in rural Illinois, like that goes a lot farther than the city, So again, just because there's your family might be a little bit over or might be a little bit under, I think just apply, and there's so much space for you to kind of like fill in the blanks. They kind of generally say like minimum household assets and savings, like, as long as your family doesn't own like a, 50 unit condo, maybe you most likely don't have that much assets and savings. Generally, I think what they kind of do is like free and reduced lunch. If you have that or you qualify that, which, the majority of the districts, most students do. Even if you don't, again, you can still make the space to why you didn't do that or what the reasons were why. You might be like my parents, and for a long time, they were too proud to kind of just even sign us up for that. Next part, kind of just like, this is a big thing about QuestBridge. Like I said, the numbers, the 65,000 is just kind of a very subjective number. There's so many different extenuating financial circumstances that you don't necessarily see. Just because your taxes say you make that much doesn't mean that's how much you're taking home. There's so many situations, you might have, there's been scholars that have really extenuating medical circumstances, their families, have to take care of others in other countries, sending remittances outside of the US. There's a million different reasons why you might have extenuating financial circumstances. Do not hesitate to share any of those. There's definitely space for you to put that and kind of quantify, what exactly is your financial situation and why you would benefit from this. I think also to put it into context, we went, some of us went to Northwestern, and 65,000 is eligible for a Pell Grant, but like at Northwestern, the average household income was like 250,000. So again, like, don't feel like you're taking anything away from anyone else. Like these schools, they're used to people coming from the very other end of the spectrum. So don't feel like you're not necessarily like taking anything away from anyone else. And yet I think the last part, it goes into the essays more than anything, like character and resilience. I mean, let your kind of show what's going on. Like, don't hesitate to, hold back. I think more than anything for a lot of us, like we were kind of dealt the cards life gave us, and we should kind of normalize and say, okay, this is fine. We're going to make do. And I'm sure all of you guys did, given your, your academic success and where you are in life, in this position to do great things and go to great school that you want to go to. But the essays are not a place to be humble, don't just say like, oh, like my family struggled, but I still, did what? No, say what happened, say how you overcame that. Say, how you acknowledge that, and how, it's helped you grow and be appreciative of what you have and how you want to use that as energy moving forward. So yeah, this is not a space for you to not put everything on paper. You've lived these 18 years of life. This is also your family's journey. Like, the last generation, your parents, your grandparents, like this is all leads up to this moment. So don't leave anything behind. Just put it all down on paper is my best advice to that. I know that was a lot of information. Do we have any questions before we go on in terms of eligibility, both academic slash low income, how they do the financial piece? All right, sounds good. Recommendations, that's a good
I
question.
think there's a question from Safia.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if we were allowed to use our mics, but
fine.
I don't plan on submitting any SAT or ACT scores. How does that affect my place in the QuestBridge world?
That's a good question. I think I'm not entirely sure that they're fully like test optional. I think it depends on the school. I think you can still do that, but we can follow up with you to give you a for sure answer before everyone just says like no SAT submissions. But yeah, we can definitely follow up with you. That's a really good question, especially now with so many schools being test optional.
I know that to apply to QuestBridge, you're encouraged to submit scores if you have them, but they're not required to apply for QuestBridge and thereby potentially become a finalist. Some schools, like Daniel was alluding to, might have specific test requirements separately from QuestBridge.
Great question, for sure. So we can continue on. I think this next part, we can kind of just share a little bit more of a testimonial. I think we wanted to bring in Guillermo. Guillermo, I'll introduce him, Guillermo Camarillo. He was a Westinghouse 2016 grad. He went on to Stanford, did great things. Went viral a couple times. You know, he's a QuestBridge celebrity. And, you know, he's also a CPS grad. So we really wanted to like give him the space to kind of share his quick QuestBridge story and, you know, his role like going from CPS to Stanford and how kind of QuestBridge mediated that bridge together to get there.
Yeah, thanks for the intro, Daniel. Hello, everyone. My name is Guillermo Camarillo. I use he, him pronouns. And as Daniel mentioned, I attended Westinghouse College Prep in Garfield Park, graduated in 2016, and then headed off to Stanford. I actually matched to Stanford through QuestBridge. So it was actually really nice because I was a college prep scholar, and then I applied for the match. And then I heard back like I think early December. So I knew I got into my dream school pretty early. I was pretty much set and ready to go off to Stanford. But there is like an interesting part of that story, which is that during my senior year, my dad was detained by immigration. So he was put in proceedings to be deported. And during that time, when all that was happening, my family was struggling a lot financially. So I was actually contemplating dropping out of high school. I thought college wasn't attainable. So I was like, you know, I'm not going to go to college. Like, there's no way I could afford it now. Like, I have to help my family. And 2 weeks after my dad was detained, I got an email from QuestBridge. And so when you open the email from QuestBridge, it's like a portal. You have to log into a portal, and then it's like, oh, there's a decision update. So you like click it. And so I clicked it, and I remember like there was like a bunch of confetti that like popped out, and it was like, congratulations, you've been matched. And I was like, okay, cool. Like I matched, but I was like, what school did I match to? And it was Stanford. And so, yeah, I kind of looking back at that story, you know, having graduated in 2020, been out of college for a year now, it's like kind of surreal to think that, you know, things could have gone very differently, but, you know, I was presented with this opportunity, went off to college. I majored in management science and engineering at Stanford, which is essentially industrial engineering. And through college, I just got like a lot of amazing opportunities. I didn't have to worry about the cost of college. So my parents didn't contribute to my education at all. It was fully covered. And I got to study abroad in Cape Town, got to travel to a few places around the world through my university. And yeah, it was just a really cool experience. And now I'm back in Chicago. I'm working full-time at a company called McMaster Carr. I'm in their management development track. And I'm actually going to move into software engineering pretty soon. So yeah, I think it's been an interesting journey, and I just encourage you all to apply. I honestly just applied because I think I was at a point in my life where I was like, I have nothing to lose. If I get rejected from this program, it's like, okay, I got rejected. Like, I'm the first one in my family to go to college. It's like, you know, my parents didn't even know I had applied to QuestBridge until I got into Stanford. And even then, when I told my parents I got into Stanford, they were like, what is that? Like, where are you going? Like, I think they were more concerned about the fact that I was going away to California more than anything else. But now they understand, and I think they're really happy that I went off and got to graduate, and I'm the first in my family to have a bachelor's degree. And so yeah, I just like pretty much what Danny was saying, like believing yourselves. Like, I honestly applied thinking I was gonna get rejected. Got into Stanford, and then I don't want to get into the nitty gritty, but Stanford's a non-binding school. So what it means is that essentially I didn't have to commit to Stanford. And so I actually heard back from Princeton. So I got into Princeton, Northwestern. So I had a few options and had really good financial aid packages. And it was all thanks to QuestBridge. So yeah, I think, QuestBridge really shaped my trajectory, and I wouldn't be here today without it. So more than happy to answer any questions and share a little bit more about my story. So yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing. I think it was very inspirational. If you haven't seen the chat yet, Guillermo, feel free to check it out. I think we're all very supportive and great to hear your story. And also just want to mention that don't be intimidated. I think like the purpose of this is to say that everyone here on this call is eligible. And even if you don't get matched, and so if you're not in, Guillermo's case, like people such as myself or Man, who we only got to the finalist stage, there's still benefits to that. So as a finalist, there are benefits such as you're able to apply to all the QuestBridge partner schools for free. So you don't have to pay the application fee, which was, in my mind, a good and a bad thing, because I definitely applied to way too many schools as a result of that. But also as a finalist, you still get access to all of the QuestBridge resources. As Man explained, you still get fantastic financial aid packages. I also paid virtually $0 to attend Dartmouth for 4 years. And then while I was in college, I was still part of the Dartmouth Quest network, and we had a very active chapter on campus that met up and provided a support community. And also, not to plug the Alumni Association again, but also beyond college. There are alumni networks that are fantastic for either networking or supportive communities as well. The one in Chicago that a lot of us that you've heard from already lead, we have events every month. So I think QuestBridge is something that stays with you even beyond high school. And also it's something where you don't need to be a match scholar to be a part of the program. And if you saw some of the numbers I submitted in the chat, those are just figures from last year, but there are a lot of opportunities to be a finalist. I think I said there were about almost 7,000 finalists last year. So that's almost about a 40% acceptance rate from all of the applicants. And from my view, a lot of the times for the finalist, to kind of meet the finalist requirements, a lot of it just has to do with if you are actually eligible income-wise, et cetera. So we definitely encourage you to apply, not to be intimidated, but we'll open it back up to Daniel, who, in case you wanted to share more about your personal story before talking more about timelines and application details.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think more than anything, if you're going to take anything away, just like the worst thing they can say is no. And even if they say no, like I was lucky to be matched, but again, like the amount of financial aid, it's just such a great resource. Like I was almost kind of jealous of my friends who were not matched because they had the ability to kind of apply to all the schools. So you can apply to all 40 if you want. All the application fees are waived, and you're probably going to get the same admissions package because they're all need-line schools, meaning they cover almost everything. It was only me and another girl that went out of state, and she went to Notre Dame. So she wasn't matched. She was regular decision, still a college scholar, but college match, finalist, sorry. But she only paid like $4,000 a year for Notre Dame. So it would have been more expensive for her to stay in community college than to go to Notre Dame. So really, I mean, there's everything to gain from this scholarship. Again, every year there's thousands of finalists compared to hundreds of other scholarships. So it's also an early decision. So it really just kind of prepares you. It really educates you. It makes you learn every single acronym. So it just helps you set you up for success. And the network's great. I think, as you can see our co-presenters, like we all went to different schools, but still have a lot of like the shared kind of story and kind of journey, and being supported by QuestBridge all the way. We can move on to the timeline.
Perfect, folks. And Sophia, I saw you had some really good questions in the chat, so I'll make sure to cover them as well. So the application, or well, I guess just quick show of hands, how many juniors do we have in the audience? I want to make sure that we're presenting the most relevant information. I don't think we have any juniors. I will fly through this really quickly just in case. But if you are a junior, we have a college prep scholars program where yep.
Hi, I just wanted to join. I've been on for about like a little more than half an hour now, and I've joined through my phone number because I'm at work, and so I don't have my Chromebook, and I'm not able to see the screen. But I'm enjoying listening to it, all the things that have been said so far. And I just wanted to introduce myself. I'm Vanessa, and I go to Roger Sullivan High School, and I'm so I feel blessed to be here. Thanks for listening.
Thanks. Perfect. So if you are a current high school junior, we do have the College Prep Scholars Program, which opens in February and closes in late March. So the upcoming cycle will start February 2022. And this is like really meant to be an opportunity just to get a little bit used to the QuestBridge kind of typical QuestBridge application. It's very similar to the one that you would apply or would fill out as you're applying as a senior as well. And then this will help you also get kind of additional resources as you go through the college application process. So for example, you might get essay coaching and like additional like application fees waived and just help kind of through that process. In addition to the opportunity to have kind of small expenses or even fully paid like summer opportunities. So this application is one that kind of you can get in a little bit earlier into the QuestBridge ecosystem, access some additional resources that'll help you out as you kind of transition from your junior and senior year into the college application process. If we want to flip to talking about the senior program, this is what we've been kind of focused. Do we want to change the slide? So if you're a college senior, this is the program that most of us have been talking about, which is one that opens in late summer. So the application is live currently and then closes on September 28th. So a couple more weeks to submit your applications if you choose to apply. I guess a couple of tips for like the applications. They are, quite rigorous applications similar to what you'd see when applying to really any kind of high caliber college, like the ones that QuestBridge partners with. And so there is a good bit of time that you'll want to spend on kind of gathering your documents like transcripts, 2 teacher recommendations, and also putting kind of really thoughtful answers towards your QuestBridge college essays and short answers. For me, I guess what I would recommend is like really if you do choose to apply and you're still working on your application, would recommend kind of over the course of the next week, really trying to get out any requests that you need for other adults to help you out. So for example, reaching out to your high school counselor and asking them to help you get a certified transcript to append to your application, or reaching out to 2 teachers who might be able to speak and kind of write a thoughtful recommendation for you. So those would be due, I think, on the September 28th deadline as well. And so good to get those requests out as soon as possible if you're able to. And then from there, I'd say the bulk of the time spent on the actual application, at least for me, was really just like sitting down and kind of using it as a period of self-reflection to think about where I, come from, what my background and kind of some of those personal struggles were. And then in turn, how I want to translate that into where I see myself going and why, college seemed like a good next step for me. And so would definitely get started on those applications and essays if you haven't already. I think there's definitely plenty of time given that it's due September 28th to write them, but it is somewhat time consuming. So would definitely recommend, putting in the time to really feel like you're putting your best foot forward. So after the September 28th deadline, QuestBridge will go and review your applications for the QuestBridge finalist program. And so from there, QuestBridge will actually respond to you and say, you know, welcome, you're invited to as a QuestBridge finalist. And you'll have basically two options for how you'd like to apply. So I applied through the National College Match, which is a ranked binding process. We'll talk about what that means in just a moment, whereby you kind of essentially apply to colleges through an early decision-like process. And then the second option is the regular application process, which is what Man and Emily both talked about. And so either you can choose, if you don't want to commit to a college through the National College Match, you can choose to only apply regular decision, or you can apply through the college match. And if you're not matched to a school, you can still apply both to those same schools and other ones through the regular decision process. So the distinction here is that the National College Match process is binding and it's a ranked process. So you can rank, I think it's up to 12 schools that you're interested in applying to, and you're meant to like rank them essentially in order of preference. So for me, like UChicago is my first choice, Stanford is my second choice. From there, I applied to I think 3 or 4 other schools as well. And essentially they'll match you to like the top school on your list. So let's say UChicago didn't, you know, give me an invitation to attend, but Stanford that did, then I would be matched to Stanford. And given that Stanford is currently a binding school, that would mean that I would have to attend Stanford in exchange for a full ride. So for me, I chose to apply through the National College Match process because it was worth it. I was like, I'm not going to apply to 12 schools because I don't think there are 12 that I'm 100% ready to commit to, but there are 5 schools that I know I'd be really happy with if I got there and knew that I had a full ride. So I ended up applying to those 5 schools through National College Match process and ranked to my, or was matched to my top choice. And then I'm gonna pause there. Any questions about the National College Match?
Hello, my name is Ashley. So we can use our mic, right, to ask questions? Okay, so just to clarify, so if we decide to apply to like the college match, does that mean we can apply to like other schools like separately on our own?
That's a great question. So you can, I think you can definitely apply to like other schools outside of the QuestBridge network. Like I think you can definitely apply to like your local state school, for example, and other like non-partner schools. You can't apply like to some schools through the National College Match and then also try to apply early decision to other like partner schools or other like really binding schools through early decision. The reason here is that, again, the National College Match process is binding. So if you're matched to a school, you have to attend. And so because of that, like you're not able to apply early decision or early action to other schools. But like for me, for example, I started an application to my flagship state school because I wanted to have kind of the safety and security of that option. And because that application wasn't binding, so even if I got into the University of Minnesota, I wouldn't have to go. I could still do that, and that wasn't like breaking any rules. Does that answer the question?
Yes, so we could apply to schools, but like just if they're not binding, right?
Exactly. Yep.
Oh, okay. Okay. Thank you.
Can I ask a question?
For sure. Yep, non-binding. I see a question in the chat. A non-binding is, so regular decision is a non-binding process. So during regular decision, you can apply to as many schools as you want. If you get into schools, like you can pick between your options, you don't have to decide. The advantage of applying early is, I guess, 2-part. One of them is that like you're guaranteed a full 4-year package that rises with the cost of attendance. So like by the time I graduated from University of Chicago, it was $10,000 a year more expensive than when I started. But I started knowing that even if that happened, my scholarship would increase. Many scholars who do apply through the regular decision process get a very similar financial aid package. So it's not to say that like you can only get a full ride if you apply through National College Match. That's not the case, but it is just like an additional layer of like guarantee. Sometimes scholarships granted through the regular decision process include like a work study component, which you can also get in the National College Match, but at least for my school is like a little bit of a difference. And then the second advantage to applying through National College Match is just that it's treated like almost an early decision or early action process. So you find out very, very early. You find out at my year, December 1st, otherwise in early December, whether or not you're matched to a school. And so that gives you kind of that ability to, know really early if you are matched, and then if you're not, still have the freedom to apply to other schools through regular decision processes. Of course, go ahead, Julia.
Okay. My question was, like, you kind of spoke on it, but were there any other, like, I guess, cons to doing regular decision, or is it just regular decision?
I definitely don't think there, I guess, yeah, I wouldn't say there are any cons to doing regular decision. So like, for example, I'd say the two reasons you do regular decision are, first, if you just weren't ready to apply to any school's binding, and then from there you can just like kind of skip the National College Match process and only apply as a QuestBridge finalist through the regular decision process. Totally fine. And again, you do get a lot of really competitive scholarship packages through that process as well. And then you also have the ability to apply, early decision or to whatever other schools, and there's no binding. And then the second reason you might apply is if you don't match to a school through the National College Match process, but you do, then you can like still continue to apply to the same schools or additional schools through regular decision. So I would definitely say there are like no major cons. If you choose to hold off, the only real con is just like the timing of when you find out. Of QuestBridge scholars who apply through National College Match are some of the earliest to get the decisions back from colleges. Like, for example, I found out December 1st that I was admitted to the University of Chicago, which was before they even released the early decisions.
Okay. Is there like a separate application for regular decision, or do we fill out the same National College Map application?
Emily, Daniel, you guys might have a more sure answer.
I think regular decision is just through the ComCap and the usual college process. I don't think there's a separate question portal for that.
Yeah, you do. At least my year, there was an option where some of the partner schools would accept your QuestBridge app. So, because it's essentially a lot of the same essays, so you just resend it. And I personally was like, oh, if they didn't want me then, do they still want me again? And the answer is yes, they just didn't want to match me through QuestBridge. So I did get accepted to schools that I didn't match to after. Actually, Dartmouth was one of them. So I wouldn't be intimidated. They probably, my year, there were only a handful of people who got the QuestBridge match to Dartmouth. And now it's like 20 to 30 people. It's grown exponentially, which is fantastic. So a lot more opportunities to be matched, or like me, don't get in later and get a great scholarship.
Thank you.
Can I have a go? Okay, it's just that, to be honest, and to be honest, I do have a few colleges in mind, but I'm still not so sure which one should I like really pick. It's just that I am not exactly so sure how would it go, like in terms of college selecting and going to that college straight. Did I get that right?
Sorry. So was your question more of just you're unsure of which colleges to do, so you're unsure if this process is right for you?
I mean, I think it can work. It's just that I'm not exactly so sure which college should I really pick at the moment. It's just that it's a bit complex because you have to work out everything to see which one can actually like maybe work, I guess.
Yes, I think that's something that most people on this call feel as well. And that's definitely something I felt when I was applying. I wasn't sure which schools I wanted to go to, what the process was like. QuestBridge was honestly a little stressful for me because the deadlines seemed really soon. They're earlier than other schools were. And I was like, I don't know if I'm ready to like commit to colleges, like which ones I want to do. But I think what I appreciated from at least the scholarship program was that it really forced me to get my applications and my essays done earlier, which was actually great. I needed that kind of push. But secondly, in terms of trying to figure out, which schools I wanted to apply to, I think that's definitely a process that everyone goes through, a very personal process. I worked with my guidance counselor and my parents as well to think about which areas, which schools I wanted to go to, what I wanted to prioritize. And it's really a personal decision in terms of narrowing down the schools. For me personally, I wanted a liberal arts school, smaller student body, etc. But it's really up to what you think you want out of a college experience. So definitely a little intimidating with like a lot of deadlines coming up, but luckily, at least for QuestBridge, when you apply, you don't need to know your schools yet when you apply initially. You only really need to know the schools you want to match with once you become a finalist and if you decide to go through the college match process after becoming a finalist. You can also be a finalist and not go through the college match process as well.
Sorry, can I quickly ask my question?
Yes, of course.
Okay, so I think, I don't know if this was answered before, but my question is, let's say, for example, I applied to Columbia University through the Common App application. Is it possible that I could still apply to Columbia University through the national match application?
I think you're asking if you could apply ED and apply through the match program, right? Did I get that right?
Not ED, but like kind of like regular decision.
Yeah. So the good thing about the match program is that it starts so early that by the time you get your decision from QuestBridge, you still have some time before you have to submit your regular decision application to Columbia. So there's no conflict there.
Okay, thank you.
I do have a quick question. So I'm a bit confused with like all that. So I've already started the process with Common App. So would these be two different like applications, or can I still submit to the school that I want, like through the through QuestBridge on Common App, or do I specifically have to go to the school like through QuestBridge?
That's a great question. So for QuestBridge, you do have to submit through the QuestBridge portal. So whatever you did on Common App, you can probably copy and paste over, but you will have to go through the QuestBridge portal to be involved in the QuestBridge process. But later on, if you become a finalist and are applying regular decision to schools that are not doing college match, you can either use the app you already have in the QuestBridge portal, kind of like a Common App, and just shoot those over to the schools because it is a lot of similar essay questions, or you can go back to your Common App and probably copy and paste some of the essays you wrote for QuestBridge into your Common App and use that to apply to school. So they're like two separate applications and two separate platforms.
So I'm sorry, I have another question. I'm applying for, I forgot which one is not non-binding. I think it's early decision, or is it early action?
Early action. Early action. Yeah.
Okay, so I applied, or I'm still applying right now to early action to different schools. So should I just remove, so that, because you guys are saying that like if we go through the QuestBridge, it is binding. So should I remove those applications on Common App and then go through QuestBridge only?
So you can still go through early action because those aren't binding. So early action are non-binding. It just means you get an earlier acceptance. So you can still go through those in your Common App. In terms of like early decision, those you can't do if you choose to do QuestBridge National College Match. And that you'll only do if you become a finalist. So you can still go through with all your early action schools though.
Okay, thank you so much.
Of course. And I think we have, sorry, Rizwan, your hand is up as well, if you wanted to ask your question. All right. If not, feel free to add more questions into the chat. We'll also open up for questions after we present our last two slides. So Kimika, I'll let you present just one more slide on our resources before wrapping up the presentation and opening up for more questions.
Perfect. So we're happy to continue to answer questions live, but QuestBridge also has a great repository of information on their website. So their website is www.questbridge.org. And then from there, if you're interested in the College Prep Scholars Program, you'll see an overview of who should apply with eligibility information for College Prep Scholars, so juniors in high school, and some details on how to apply, and it's starting in February of next year. If you're a senior, you'll also see our website contains, or the QuestBridge website contains information about the National College Match process, including, really specific eligibility information, how to apply, how it works, and I think most interesting and exciting, a view of all of the college partners. So you can look at all of the college schools that you could apply to through QuestBridge and read more information about them on the questbridge.org website.
So just wanted to say thank you to everyone for, taking the time. I know it's Thursday after school to listen to us talk about this scholarship. Hopefully, I know we threw a lot of information at you, so take some time to review our website at your own pace. Essentially just if there's anything we want you to take away from this is that you should apply to QuestBridge. And I think that you have nothing to lose from doing so. And so we were hoping by sharing our stories from people who actually went through this process, that that QuestBridge is a fantastic program for you as a high schooler, college student, and an alumni. So thank you so much for listening, and we'll open it up. We have about 7 more minutes for any more questions, so feel free to either raise your hand and ask one live or put one in the chat. We'll stay on to help answer questions. Either any of us from the alumni board or Guillermo can even share more about his personal story. So I see a question from Veronica, so feel free to unmute and ask your question.
Okay, I'm sorry, I'd just like to clarify as much as I can.
Of course.
So let's say I apply from early action in my Common App, but then let's say I get into the finalists and I get accepted through QuestBridge. I have to go to the school that QuestBridge tells me to go to, right?
If you, so if you apply early action somewhere and then you apply to QuestBridge, become a finalist, then you do the match program, which you can choose to do or not do. And then you get matched to a school through that program, which can or cannot happen. So for instance, some of us just didn't get matched at any of the schools, but if you do get matched, you do have to go. It is binding, but that school will pay for 100% of your cost of attendance. And also when you submit, you actually choose the schools you want to rank for getting the match. So it's not like you're applying to every single QuestBridge school. I chose maybe 3 or 4 schools that I would be totally fine with being forced to go and for a full ride. So it's really up to you. You can either choose to not go through that process at all, just be happy with being a finalist, or you can go through it and choose maybe 1 or 2 schools that you'd be happy going to with a full ride. So it's up to how you want to do the application.
Real quick, students, we do have one more presentation right after QuestBridge, so please don't leave. We have one more presentation from the Laurel Scholars.
Yeah, so we have about 5 more minutes to chat QuestBridge before we go into the next scholarship. So feel free to keep asking questions live or in the chat.
I have a question.
Brian, go ahead.
So any information, because I am still lost, I am very overwhelmed, and I asked in the chat, but any information we missed from the presentation today, we could just go to your website and like review it there.
Yes, you can. We'll also send out a link to this presentation if that's helpful, and there will be a recording to this one. But yeah, it's a lot of information, so you can just go to our website, www.questbridge.org. If you can't remember that, just go on Google and search QuestBridge, and it should come up. And you can find all the information you need on our website.
Yeah, thank you. I have the website open. I'm just like making sure I don't miss anything and I have everything prepared. But also, if I want to like apply to QuestBridge, do I have to start like now, get my recommendation letters ready right now, and also my essay or like narrative?
Right, so you have till almost the end of this month, I believe it's the 28th, to apply. But by the time you apply, like you don't need, I would recommend you start talking to your recommenders, just because it's nice to give them a heads up if you have some teachers in mind, since it takes them time to write them. But I believe you just have to submit the names of your recommenders and their emails by the 28th, and they get some time to submit, the written recommendations. But in terms of essays and such, those would be due by the end of this month. So like I had said earlier, it is a little stressful because you do have to get all your stuff together by the end of the month, but I think there's nothing to lose by that, just because even if your essays aren't completely ready by the end of this month, QuestBridge is just also one of many other scholarships you can apply to. It's not the end all be all, and you can still apply regular decisions to schools after, but it is super helpful to kind of rush yourself to try to get things done early on in the process.
Yes, and which I will do, but thank you very much.
Of course.
On that note, sorry, I'm gonna jump in. I think that piece of advice is really, really important. Like QuestBridge is great, like they cover room and board and tuition. But if you do apply to more scholarships, i.e. the Venture Scholarship, I'm a Venture Scholar, and I know that's open to CPS students. That's a great scholarship. Venture gave me essentially like an extra $5,000 to cover books, to cover other things, other necessities I needed, to also even cover flights. And those were things that I didn't think were going to cost a lot, but they actually did. So if you get more like external scholarships, they add it to your, I think your aid package, and sometimes the school reimburses you money. So they'll reimburse you like $1,000 or $2,000. So yeah, big shout out to Venture Scholarship because it's also a really good scholarship.
You can never have too much money in college. How about that?
True. I had like 3 or 4 other scholarships that sent me money as well. And there's some, unfortunately, I'm from Florida, so I can't some that were Florida based, where all I had to do was submit my name and my test scores. And the hardest part was finding a good headshot of myself. So definitely a lot out there. Fernanda, feel free to unmute and ask your question.
My question is, basically I'm part of another program, which is Chicago Scholars, and we're kind of doing the process and everything of like applying to colleges. Like I have my 5 colleges, like my safety school, my match school, like everything. I already have that. But like my question is, could I still apply to QuestBridge? And I mean, most of the colleges that I'm going to be applying for the 5 ones I'm going to be applying for Chicago Scholars are early action, or I mean early, yeah, right. Early action is the one where it's not binding, right?
Exactly, yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, early action. So all the 5 that I'm going to be applying are early action. So, and the ones that I would be applying in QuestBridge, those would be binding, right? They would be early decision. So my question is like, I heard a little bit, I was kind of confused, mostly because I want to know if I can apply to QuestBridge even though I'm in the other program. And yeah, it's like my main question.
Yeah, actually, I do know someone who did Chicago Scholars who just matched last year. Actually, I knew like his mentor and actually looked over his essays for him. So you can definitely do both. I know it can be a little confusing, but essentially, And I'll let Guillermo talk to you. Actually, he probably can say more because he did it himself.
Yeah, so I'm a Chicago Scholar alum. So yeah, I understand the process with Chicago Scholars and how they're like require you to apply to like a bunch of colleges by the end of September. Um, just as a heads up, it wasn't that good of an experience to apply to both Chicago Scholar schools and QuestBridge. So just please, plan accordingly. But I would say like I only applied to schools that were like early action. I didn't do any ED. So I was just, I was very conscious that I was gonna do QuestBridge and I think they have that big like the big conference where you go and like I think interview with schools. So I actually got my first offer through that, but it was like non-binding and it was like early action. So on site, yeah, there you go, on site. So it's actually a really good opportunity for you to kind of just get to explore schools and maybe even get like a few offers early on. But yeah, they don't conflict with one another. You could do that on site and you could also do the national match process.
Thank
Hopefully
you.
that answered your question. Yeah.
That did answer my question. I
Right.
also have another one, just a quick one. So when we are accept, like if, for example, we happen to match in QuestBridge and to like a certain school by early division, my question is mainly like, does that mean that like the scholarship would pay for like the school that we got accepted to, or like that's my question. Yeah, pretty much. Because I'm a bit confused about that.
Yeah, so correct me if I'm wrong, but like QuestBridge is not providing the scholarship, it's the school. So what QuestBridge does is that they serve as like the bridge, essentially, where they're connecting like these schools to these high achieving students. And so if you match to a school, they're essentially committing to providing a full financial aid package. So yeah, I'm not sure if that answered your question or if anyone else wants to jump in on that.
So thank you, Guillermo, and thank you for everyone for your questions. So we do have to wrap up now, but I did drop in the email address. If you have any additional questions and want to reach out to us directly, this question would go to all presenters here that we can help answer. And if you have other ones, feel free to check out the website. But I will now turn this back over to Herbert to continue on the presentation. So thank you all so much again for your time. We hope you apply.
Thank you, QuestBridge, and all of those that was here for QuestBridge. Now